Political analyst Bill Crane joins me now to discuss the Georgia race for U.S. Senate. Bill, you are in Georgia. Let's talk about the latest numbers. What are you seeing there, and when do you expect we'll have the final result?
It is not going to be close, and I expect we will know by 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time that Raphael Warnock will be returned to the United States Senate.
Well, it's been a tight race. That's the reason why we're in a runoff. But what exactly happened with Georgia voters since November 8th? Both candidates have hit the road hard since then. Was it voter fatigue in Georgia? Are they tired of hearing the messages? Or has the turnout favored Warnock? What's been going on?
Well, it looks like we're on our way to 3 million ballots to be cast for this runoff election, which for a general election runoff will set a record. We had spiked turnout during this runoff all the week of early voting. Some counties started with Saturday, some counties started with Wednesday before Thanksgiving. But the end result is that in 4 counties, specifically here, I know that viewers in China won't know them, but they're all clustered around the core of Atlanta, Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, and Gwinnett. 600,000, about a third of those votes were cast. In those counties, which Raphael Warnock won handily in November, he's running his margins up. So as of tonight, we're looking at him at 87% of the vote in DeKalb County, 77% of the vote in Fulton County, 76% of the vote in Gwinnett County. And if these percentages hold, though Herschel Walker will win somewhere upwards of 120 of Georgia's 159 counties, he's not winning where the voters are.
And is that because some of the people who voted for him previously stayed home, or are there more Warnock voters coming out? Or does this go back to the Libertarian candidate who was on the ballot back in November?
The Libertarian really doesn't play a force here. The incumbent governor who won re-election, Brian Kemp, is very popular. He went out and campaigned for Herschel Walker. Herschel was not particularly visible this last week on the campaign trail, but I think when it comes down to it, Warnock's campaign was better financed, better organized, turned out and identified its votes, particularly in those core metro counties, and very importantly, in the secondary metro population centers of Georgia, places like Macon, Savannah, Columbus, Augusta. He also increased his vote more than he got in November and more than Stacey Abrams, who was the gubernatorial nominee, got in November. Those are critically the second largest population centers in the state once you get outside of metro Atlanta. So Herschel Walker's got a really energized base, but it's a smaller number of voters. And I do think there are some Republicans who may not have made it back out for this runoff election. We had rain most of the day today. That would typically favor the GOP, but turnout was comparatively flat today across the state compared to what it was during advance voting, which the Democratic Party very much won the day.
Bill, we have about 30 seconds left. If you can explain for our international audience what this means for the U.S. Senate if Warnock wins as you predict, and the decisions that will move forward in the Senate gives Democrats a little bit of a cushion.
Joe Biden will have the ability to complete 39 federal judicial appointments that have been pending. Should a Supreme Court justice seat come open in the next 2 years, he'll have the necessary 51 votes for that. But he's still got some moderates inside the Democratic Party, specifically Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kristen Sinema of Arizona. So he's still got to keep all that team of 51 together or use Vice President Kamala Harris to break ties if he has one defection when the vote's 50-50. The Democrats also appoint all committees now and have much more control of the flow of legislation in the upper chamber.
All right. Always great to get your take, Bill Crane. Thank you so much for joining us from Georgia.
Take care.